like a pot of soup, and then tell them, like, have the kids put like 3 peppers in, 4 pieces of chicken, or
that was a mistake.
Pieces of whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I have some things up here for you to look at
I just thought of that.
this week or the next couple of weeks. And number one is there are some outstanding recordings and movies on YouTube with Smart Notebook. And you ought to look at these because they discuss the new features.
Reality is,
the activity builder, which is something you all want to learn to use. You all want to learn to use the activity builder. You must. It's so good. Well, someone here did that. It was in the other class. But the activity builder is really good. You used it, didn't you, Jose? Did you use the activity builder? Okay, you check it out because it's really special. And there are 2 of them, the activity builders. They're about 5 minutes each. And let me just show you quickly what it does. It'll basically do everything that you can do.
Hi there, my name is Mrs. Kelly Gilchrist. I'm National Board Certified Teacher. I've been teaching for 13 years. And I wanted to show you today one of the newest features in Smart Notebook 11 software called Activity Builder. If you're familiar with Promethean Active Inspire, this is similar to their container feature. Smart does make it considerably easy, which I love, to set your objects to accept different items. So I'm going to show you how I created this noun, verb, and adjective activity. Like basically, it allows for a lot of interaction at the board, which my students love. The students come up to the board, and they place the word in the correct spot. Now, obviously, vote is not a verb, so watch as it bounces back. This is what I have the settings at, is to not accept vote for verb or adjective, but when we put it in the noun box, notice it disappears. Okay? So I also have drink set as a noun or a verb. It will take either because technically it is, depending on how the students think about it. And the same with dust. That's either a noun or a verb. So it will accept both of those. So I'm going to put these into their boxes quickly so I can show you how I made this. Notice it's not going to go there or there, but adjective does accept it. And since I previously saved my page, I can go to Reset Page. If you don't have that, you can go to Customize Toolbar, and you can drag it up to your toolbar. It's right here, Reset Page. And it's going to revert back to my originally saved notebook page. So I'm going to go to a new page, and I'm going to put a rectangle on my screen. Okay, I'm going to have a line color, black, fill color of yellow. Right. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this and paste. And I'm going to get another color here. This, capital, and lowercase. So we're going to have the students sort between the 2 types of letters. So I'm going to put capital up here, lowercase up here. I can group these. If you don't know the shortcut for group, you highlight everything with your select or your arrow tool, and we do Control G, and that will group them. All right, so now I'm going to put some letters on my screen. We're just going to do a few here for an example. Okay, I'm going to highlight all of these, and we're going to make them considerably larger. Okay. All right, and I'm going to kind of position these where I want them on my screen. All right. Just kind of mixed up here. All right. Now, I'm going to go to this little puzzle piece. This is new. This is called the Activity Builder. And I'm going to select this box first, capital. Click Edit. Now, what...
Now, you notice it's the one that's right over here. Looks like a little puzzle piece. So when you open up the notebook, it's this one right there, a little puzzle piece there. And that's the activity builder, and it's, as you see, offers great
letters do we
possibilities
want
right away,
this
doesn't it?
capital box to accept? So we're going to drag them in here. We want it to accept the capital A, capital B, the capital T, the capital L, and the capital Z. Now, all we have to do is reject these objects. So we just click Add All Remaining. But you notice our green box goes in because it's not locked. That's okay. You just take your green box and drag it to the trash can. So now all the green things this box will accept, and all of the red it will reject. So if you go into settings here, I have it set as the animation to fade out when a box is drugged, when a letter is drugged into the box. We can have it snap to center, fly out, or spin.
This is pretty good.
And also, when rejected, we don't want it to do anything, or we want it to bounce back. I think bounce back really gives the students really quick feedback, which is important. So I like to leave it there. And we could also have it play the object sound, which we don't have any sound set right now. I'll show you that in another tutorial. So I'm going to click Done. And now we're going to set our lowercase. So we go to Edit. Which letters do we want this box to accept? So we're going to put all the lowercase letters in here. We have our lowercase a, b, and t. And then add all remaining. Same thing. I can get rid of that box. Click Done. Now, it should work. I'm going to go ahead, though, first and do File, Save As. I'm going to save my file just to be safe so I can reset it. And notice if we drag our capital letter into the lowercase box, it doesn't accept, but it does disappear. Lowercase in the capital doesn't work. So all of these work nicely. So that's how you have it. That's how you use and create activities in Smart Notebook 11 Activity Builder. My name again is Mrs. Kay Gilchrist. Visit amazingclassroom.com for tons of lessons, activities, classroom websites, and more tutorials. Enjoy.
And notice there are a whole bunch of smart tutorials, tips, and stuff. And you ought to go through those and look at some of the strategies and things that you can do. It's one of the great things about an interactive tool like this is people share all these great techniques, and you have to balance which ones meet your objectives. Okay, so you don't have to have 27 different slides or screens. You don't have to. You can make one thing last as long as it's all in your design. Everything that you do in this program is all your design. That's all Dr. Ben and I are teaching. Instructional design. The technologies are byproducts. Then I have, you got to like some of these things. I've got the integrating technology in the middle school instruction. Now this is interesting because this is middle school, and it's for the Promethean board, which we don't have, but they have different instructional strategies, and they show what they are, and they reference different research studies that talk about it. So hiding, revealing, drag and drop is one instructional strategy. Accommodating lower ability and special needs kids, another strategy to differentiate instruction. Spotlight or screen shade is another way to use the notebook. So that's an interesting one to look at. And then, not to be outdone by the world famous, it just left, interactive whiteboard pedagogy, which I think you'll enjoy reading. Pedagogy means the philosophy, and so it's using an interactive whiteboard as a learning center to support higher order thinking. Now some of you are going to be working with higher order thinking, particularly like your leaders perhaps, maybe. That would be something to consider. Bloom's taxonomy, recording the action on an interactive whiteboard, which is what I do. Using interactive content to support learning, hint, hint, hint. See? So that's up there for you to look at. I find these helpful. If you read these, you'll find some solutions. instructional strategies for the interactive whiteboard,
Like bird.
and 6 ways that IWB can make teaching easier. And you can look through this. She goes through several, pretty interesting. And I think it would relate to all of you. There's something in here for everybody. Now, here's the homework. Finish 5 notebooks. This is before we haven't done the rubric yet, but I just want to show you. You're going to be finishing the 5 notebooks. You can change these. You know, if you go through them and you come in and you say, "Oh, this is awful," change it. It's okay. You got till the end of the semester. Then I want you to make a screencast of 15 minutes for one. And this is not the final one. I just want you to pick the one that you like or that you really have the most confidence in. And just post that on your website. And upload all the 5 notebooks to the Moodle. So your notebooks, these are works in progress. But upload them to the Moodle. Then, using the template, fill out a lesson plan for each notebook activity. Print and bring that to class. And this is what the template looks like. I mean, it's really, really a tough one. So here's the notebook lesson plan template. You want to be thinking about what the prerequisite knowledge is. What do they have to know? The content of your lesson, the objectives, how will you teach it, the instructional strategies, any additional materials will you use, and how will you evaluate. That's pretty simple. I mean, those are basic things that would come down in your design. So for each one of those, each one of the lessons, just fill one of these out. Pretty much what you've done already, but this is more refining. Question or comment about that? Really?
You said before that there's not necessarily an exact number as to how many pages each notebook should have.
Yeah. It could have 1 page.
It's a matter of accomplishing the objective.
The design. How you design it to meet the objective, to reinforce learning. It's all. That's it. I mean, that's our whole program. I've just saved you like thousands of dollars and all this time because you know everything now. It's all design. All the technology itself is just tangential. Is there a question?
I have a question.
Sure.
About the prior knowledge thing.
About the what?
Prior knowledge.
Yeah.
I work with preschoolers, and all my notebook presentations are aimed at preschoolers. And basically, I'm just trying to expose them to things, such as letters.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't have a lot of prior knowledge about that sort of stuff.
Well, they have prior knowledge of do they know the letters?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
Do
I'm
they
trying
know
to teach them
words?
the letters, but they know.
But they know words, prior knowledge. They would know apple. They'd be able to name certain things. So,
Alright, so
They have a sight word vocabulary,
Yeah.
like not actual words, but like a sight picture.
if you show them a picture of an apple, they would say apple.
okay.
See, that would be, and a lot of kids wouldn't. If you do that in Alaska among Alaska natives, they wouldn't be able to identify a lot of the things that we would because they don't have them. I mean, it's a whole different world. You wouldn't be able to identify a bunch of things they would. So, like the difference between different kinds of berries and the famous thing of the snow, like so many words for snow. Okay, and then I've got the week 11 questions and comments, and you can put down any comments and questions in there. Go back to the homework. Okay, you fill out that. And then you're going to create a rubric. So we'll do that in just a minute. So you're going to make a screencast. At the end of the screencast, just put a couple of seconds of the rubric in there that you create. So, Kathy, okay? I mean, I got it written down. So, to get to the rubric creation site, I'd like you to go to rubistar.forteachers.org, and I'll put this down there. It's Rubistar. For teachers. Actually, just do it in Google search, see, and then you don't have to do Rubistar for teachers. It's the number 4. Click on that, and that should bring you up to Rubistar Home for Teachers, creating rubrics. So I'm going to click on that. And this is the program. Has anyone used this before? Tell me about it.
You give it the information that, well, they have some that are preset rubrics on the website that you can select depending on your subject matter and your topic, your lesson, and it will spit out for you some of the ones that have already been loaded. And then you can edit it'll export it to an Excel sheet.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a couple other options. And then you can edit it once you can view it before you upload it and make the edits then. Or you can upload it into an Excel and then edit it that way as well. It will save it if you wanted to, or you don't have to save it there right away.
Mm-hmm. Now, you should join. You should sign up. It's free, and they'll save the rubrics for you. You can either save them and make them temporary. For example, you can create a rubric here. So let's say I'm going to create a multimedia rubric, and they give me all sorts of things to look at. And each one of these has its own stuff, but I can actually make them customizable. So let's say, for example, I wanted to do a PowerPoint appearance and content. Say you're going to do something with PowerPoint. Or you could do multimedia project. This might be considered a multimedia project. Storyboard multimedia. So I'll just click on multimedia project. Now watch this. So I could put my name and stuff in there. But even before I do it, I'm not going to do it yet. But once I've registered, I can put the information in here. And then this is what Julio was mentioning. So this is the multimedia. And basically, you choose the category. So you get all these categories: presentation, sources, permissions, attractiveness. So let's say the presentation would be the first thing we have in our rubric. So the number 4, which is excellent, okay, good, okay, and bad. Well rehearsed with smooth delivery and holds audience attention. They actually have the criteria in there. And if you want to, you can change it as much as you want. But they have suggested criteria for each one of these categories. So the next one, let's say sources, okay? Source information collected for all the graphics and most documented in desired format. So this is a template driver. It actually helps you to develop rubrics for evaluation of projects, of anything you do. If you want to develop a writing rubric, WebQuest, anything. Another one here would be requirements. This doesn't meet all the requirements. All requirements are exceeded, so on and so forth. Let's see. Mechanics. That's important. No misspellings or grammatical errors. And then I'll do one more, which is originality. That's a big one. Then what I'll do is once I finish, I can keep going on and on and on. But when I finish, I can just click submit, and I'll preview the rubric. Let us know the zip code, because it's supported by the Department of Education. So zip code, I give my Alaska zip code. I don't want to give them any extra information. And then I'll submit. Name for my project. Okay. We're going to play this game, huh? Okay. My name is Dr. F. Frank.
They won't let you get by without putting the information.
Multimedia project, zip. A temporary rubric. You can make it permanent. So if you've logged in, if you've registered, you can make it a permanent rubric and always go back and re-edit it. So if you do something like a speech or a talk or some of your training, you can always go back and change it as situations warrant. So then I have all that junk fill out, and then I click submit, It's not saved yet. I can preview it, and this is the rubric. So it produces this, and then I can use this as, see this? I can use this as a tool for any kind of instruction or anything I want to that requires some kind of evaluation. Make sense? So for what I want you to do is to pick the lesson, the one lesson that you're doing, that you use the screencast for, and then create a rubric for it. So at the end of that lesson, you can determine whether students have done this, done that, done this, done that. And if there isn't a category for that, you can create your own category. Say you want them to, say it's first grade, you want to make sure that their tactile movement is good. You can have tactile movement, which is just moving their hands. Some kids can't do it, and that's something to evaluate. It's not necessarily gradable, but I'd want to know that. Another thing would be, as part of this, I might say to the student, go to the left side or right side of the board, and they wouldn't know which is which, so I could put down, doesn't know, has trouble with left and right. And why is left and right an important concept for these kids? What? Why is it important for children to really be able to differentiate between left and right? Reading. They find out if kids have trouble differentiating left and right, they have trouble reading because you read from left to right. And sometimes kids don't know where to start on the page. Seriously, they don't know where to start. So that's why we want to teach kids left and right. And if you're in a kindergarten or first grade class where kids have that problem, you might say, okay, I want you to pick up the red color in your left hand. Okay, you don't have to write with it, just pick it up. And then you can put it over to your other hand and write. So, does that make sense? Yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna say, so basically the rubric is just a Likert scale without the medium, without the middle part.
It's more than that. In other words, what it is it's a map. Likert scale is, but this is a map of the different characteristics and things that go into what you want to have. And a Likert scale can only be one or two things, and it's not like having 5 Likert scales. I mean, in some ways you might say it is, but the rubric itself is a way of presenting an evaluation to a student or to a learner. So when you get a rubric back, it'll show where your stuff is. With content, Likert scale just would have like what numbers, it wouldn't describe what those numbers mean.
This gives us some kind of expectation.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Like,
with grading too, helps you keep it subjective.
so for example, the expectation for the sources is their information is well collected for all graphics, etc., etc., etc. So if a student did that, they would get a 4 points. And to add up the points, for example, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you have 4 categories, so that's 20. So for example, 4 in each category would give them 20, which would be 20 out of 20 is 100% or whatever it is. So it's really, rubrics are special evaluation tools, and as ed tech people and even as educators, you want to get a command of them. As far as instructional design, it really is, it kind of completes the circle of design. You have the need, you design instruction, you have students do things, you have objectives, so on and so forth. At the very end, you want to evaluate whether the learners learned. This tells you whether the learners learned. This shows them. Yeah, 1, 2.
So I'm going to have my notebook presentations and then separate assessment.
Yeah.
Right? That could be like a paper assessment based on whether or not the students met the objective that I was using the notebook for.
Yes.
And then the rubric would be for that assessment. Not
Yes.
for how well they use the technology, but for whether or not they understood.
Yeah, whether they learn what you wanted them to learn.
Okay, gotcha.
So in the end, if people don't learn what you want them to learn, then you wasted your time. Please don't waste your time. I mean, you waste your time here, you waste your time in the classroom. So the rubric is data-driven decision-making. It's data that you use and you give to the students. Students can see where their performance is and where they can improve on what they've done.
We can create our own rubric, we don't have to use this website, or you can.
If you want to, fine.
Okay.
I'm just demonstrating this as a tool for those people who aren't rubric
Heavy.
savvy yet.
Okay.
So if you want to make your own rubric, do you have a better tool for it, or
Just, just for the content that I'm going to be doing, I was just looking.
because you can get blank rubrics and fill in your own categories and your own criteria.
Right.
So you don't need to have anything. But what's nice is when I use this, I can always go back to it from a couple of years ago, and I have something to start with. Rob, do you have a question?
No.
Is this scratching your back?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I read that right. Good. Okay. So, question or comment about this? Yeah.
I've almost never used what they give to me. I use it as a starting point, and it gets my mind going as to what am I looking for really.
Right. Good idea. I do that too. Sometimes I'll look at a rubric that I have no interest in, just to see what their categories are, how they describe it.
Right.
And that's another principle of learning. Anytime you see good design, good instruction, notice the words that people use to describe things. And sometimes it's much better than the words you would use. So it's okay to borrow those words. You're not stealing. It's like reading a good book, and all of a sudden you start thinking in a different way and expressing yourself in a different way. That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Can I share an experience?
Yeah,
with,
please.
Rubric. I'm not in, in the academic world, so I'm not too experienced with this other than through my daughter. And last year she had a professor where she would come home, and she's very literal and she takes instruction very well. And every time she was working on a project, she thought she was doing well. She'd go in and he'd come back and say, nope, she was all off. And she got really frustrated with that. So finally I intervened and I said, we're getting mixed messages from you. She shows me what you ask, she does it, come back and you say, no, she can't do that at all or whatever. And he wrote me back this lengthy email that basically in a nutshell said, these kids are so spoiled on rubrics that I'm trying to break them because in college they're never going to use that. Then we went to a session held by a UConn professor, and it was instructional design, and he helps write courses for the professors over at UConn, and he said what they're finding is UConn was at the bottom of the list of the professors actually using rubrics to teach their courses because they weren't following a main objective. Like they would say, you could teach physics, well, what are you going to teach about physics? They're going to go in and just teach physics, but they didn't have a rubric, so they didn't really have a point. So it's sort of, that whole experience went full circle for me to say, I think that was Hannah's teacher just being lazy because he didn't want to do something like this to have a point so that every time she come back with something, he didn't really have a valid response for her. He just wanted to keep her going in a circle. Whereas when he would say, well, when you get to college, you're not going to have any of that. You're just going to have to figure it out on your own anyway. So when, in fact, that wasn't true. So I was glad I had that experience a couple weeks later when I went to UConn to say, I didn't understand it was just a lazy teacher. Anyways, but it all came down to, it was my first exposure to the value of the rubric and it go all the way up into the college career, too.
Well, thanks for sharing that. That's very important. Because there are folks, in Alaska, it was the same thing. People were laughing and say they never use it and all this other stuff. And they kept explaining to me, it's so much, this is so much better for you and for the student.
Right, I guess that was
my
teacher too. Point. It was good for the teacher.
It keeps you
on the task.
It does. Well, it keeps you when you read, especially somebody's writing, you go, it's Tiffany, she could do, you know what I'm saying? I know she could do better. So it's when you've got that rubric in front of you, if they don't meet that criteria, they just didn't meet that criteria. Without that, it's easy to just say, oh, there it is.
And there are a lot of ways to evaluate things. I just want you to know a lot of them. And then the rubric is one that will serve you well. Rubric stars, sorry?
Yeah, I'm sorry. In our case here, this is going to be something, since I've never used one before in my life.
Good.
It's going to be, I'm going to be creating it as I'm going to be filling it out, measuring the student learning from what I designed.
Yeah. So at the end of the lesson, the student will come up and say, how did I do? Then you give them the rubric and say, this was good. You could use a little bit more of this, really sloppy. Or he wouldn't say sloppy, but the categories, this is a sore spot on how you name the categories. But I usually put like excellent, very good, good, developing. You know, not crappy or something like that. So. So you make it so that it isn't like a high stakes thing, a face saving or face losing thing, but it's just needs to improve on this and so on and so forth. So you'll do that and have fun with it and make lots of mistakes. Okay. Going to have 3 questions or comments and then we'll stop. It's got to be good ones, none of this phony stuff.
I think the point is made about teenagers coming into high school accustomed to rubrics is very true. Because when I get in my class and I give an assignment, they almost instantaneously want to know about the rubric and where is it and when am I going to get it. And
so they know what standards to meet.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. I think what it's done is it help students and teachers know what the expectations are. And I think that rubrics are always kind of a work in progress. Because even with myself, the more I make them, the more I realize how bad mine are. Mm-hmm. And the more I realize it's helped to take out a lot of the guesswork in what the expectation is. But even in my language, like this is still kind of a vague, vague language in my box guide to clarify exactly what I'm looking for this specific point. And when I get a really good one done, it very much minimizes how much written feedback I need to put on an essay. Because I already spelled it out in the rubric exactly what the expectation is. And so therefore when I have 1 or 2 good ones, then it takes out a lot of almost all the guesswork involved with how did I get my grade.
Excellent. 2 more. Thank you. That's good. 2 more questions or comments.
During my undergrad, I had to make a rubric that was kid-friendly. Instead of, the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, just put excellent, great, good, I used pictures for the stages of a butterfly. And so for like 1, it would be like a caterpillar. The second one, it would be like a larva, the chrysalis, and the 4 would be the actual butterfly. So you could see what stage you were at. And
how'd they like it? How'd the students?
It was cool.
Did you come up with that idea yourself?
I did.
You see? That's perfect. That's so creative. That's an interesting thing for you people who are kindergarten, 1st, 2nd graders in terms of nice ways to frame that, borrowing Nikita's idea. Which can people borrow that?
Sure.
What pictures?
Like the stages of a butterfly or a caterpillar. It's like right in the little box where one is, it'll be like a little caterpillar.
Maybe make the box bigger. You can make the box.
Yeah, you can make it a little bigger.
So you have to teach them the stages of the butterfly first, right?
What's that?
You have to teach them the stages of the butterfly
Just
first.
write down your caterpillar.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
okay.
was from 4th grade class, so we should.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that. That's good. So butterfly would be, so caterpillar would be here, and the cocoon or something, and kind of half of the butterfly and the butterfly. Okay, never won an art contest. 1 more question or comment, and then we'll head out. Nothing cheesy either. So I don't know what the homework is. So just work on those 5, look at those different resources I left for you there. Check those out. You'll learn a lot from them. Listen to ideas like Nikita's idea. That's an interesting way to do that. Maybe there's some other ways you can add graphics and other symbols. Yeah.
The rubric we're creating is just for the one that we're doing this week.
Yes.
We don't want rubrics for all of the 5.
Correct. Just the one, and I want you to just put it at the end of the screencast that you make, so just to show that. Okay. So this is a design activity that you are going to create interactive instruction with this interactive multimedia tool, and it's not limited or expected to have like 27 screens or whatever, but the design of how you do this is the key. So use that template, and I just put in there what you're going to do. Think about it. Okay. Okay, well then I will see you in 2 weeks. Next week I will be here for the undergraduate class, but this class won't meet. If you want to come in and work, Dr. Bed will be here from 4:30 on, though Tuesday probably wouldn't be a good day because I will have a class in here. And then on Wednesday, if you want to come in, you're crazy, but if you want to come in Wednesday, Dr. Bed will be here at 4:30, even though school is officially closed. He's had people in on Christmas and July 4th and stuff like that. He's a pro. Okay, so if you would shut your machines down and see you in 2 weeks. If you have any questions, email me. Enjoy yourself.
No, we did not.
Thanksgiving us?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Have a happy Thanksgiving, yes. Even though I'm a vegetarian, I will.
You can still have
Tofurkey, that's what we have.
It's awful.
Oh.
It's awful.
Lisa, we do like it.
I don't like it.
veggie lasagna. That has to be turkey. Bye all.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a nice.
Have a better day tomorrow.
I am too. Good night's sleep.